Ancient Egypt, a beautiful and rich civilization well known for its powerful pharaohs, tall pyramids, and booby-trapped tombs. A place where being an outsider meant being condemned to eternal enslavement. Or was it really? For thousands of years, the lives of ancient Egyptians have been shrouded in an aura of mystery. This, however, has given birth to countless myths, like the Egyptians coming in contact with aliens from outer space. What? Welcome to Nutty History. Today, we're going to be shedding light on some of the most shocking myths about ancient Egypt. Viewer discretion is advised for this video, as some of this video may be offensive or disturbing. We, the makers of this video, in no way support or condone the actions of the subjects featured. Giza is home to the Sphinx, which is possibly the single most recognizable piece of Egyptian iconography in the world. At 240 feet long and 66 feet high, it is a tribute to Egyptian ingenuity as well as Pharaoh Khafre, who is thought to have ordered the Sphinx construction near his father, Pharaoh Khufu's Great Pyramid. The Sphinx isn't just notable for only its beauty, but also for the absence of a nose. According to legend, Napoleon is to blame for the Sphinx's lack of a nose. It is said that he ordered his troops to fire a cannon at the Sphinx, severing its nose. But how accurate is this legend? The problem is that a painting by Danish explorer Frederick Lewis Norton in 1737 depicted the Sphinx with its nose already missing, over 60 years before Napoleon arrived in the region. So how could he have shot off the nose? It's more likely that in the 14th century, a Sufi Muslim named Muhammad Saim al-Dahar broke the nose off. Why? It is believed that he protested against Egyptian idolatry after becoming disgusted while watching the Egyptian peasants make offerings to the Sphinx to ward off floods. Unfortunately, the historical record is unclear on whether Muhammad Saim al-Dahar went unpunished for what he had done by the Egyptians or not. But what we do know is that we will never be able to know what the Sphinx originally looked like before its nose was lost, as the Egyptians never kept a record of it. Who knows? Maybe if humanity ever encounters extraterrestrials, we could ask them what the Sphinx looked like. The all-powerful pharaohs of ancient Egypt were usually buried alongside their massive treasures, which, as you can imagine, the pharaohs were very keen on protecting. But did the pharaohs really install a functional preventive measure to keep thieves away from their lovely treasures? Well, yes and no. Yes, in the sense that some precautions were taken, and no, in the sense that there were no flying poison darts or giant swinging blades of death as depicted in our favorite games and movies. In fact, except for the possibility of some rare and debatable exceptions, Egyptians never really booby-trapped their tombs. To begin with, it's important to understand that generally the pharaoh's own subjects, and in some cases their direct successors, were the ones actually stealing the afterlife retirement plan. You see, a pharaoh's power was more or less absolute, and they could do pretty much anything they wanted. As a result, many pharaohs would have the tombs of their ancestors looted, and in some cases even reuse the items for their own burial. There are even stories of pharaohs unceremoniously having the mummy of their predecessor dumped out of their sarcophagus so it could be reused. This was particularly true during hard times, when Egyptian nobility would have no sense of shame about ransacking a beloved ancestor's resting place because, technically, it was also their belongings. And because they made the rules, no one voiced opposition. However, tomb raiding done by commoners or those who were unrelated to the deceased carried severe penalties if caught. The punishment for raiding a tomb ranged from public flogging to a brutal end, depending on the importance of the crypt and the value of the items stolen. However, tomb raiders were able to avoid such punishments by bribing the authorities in charge of prosecuting them. Sad to say, while Hollywood would have you believe that the tombs of ancient pharaohs were riddled with deadly traps, the truth is much more mundane. To begin with, the concept of elaborate booby traps in ancient tombs is considered a myth. In fact, tomb raiding was so easy and common in ancient times that nearly every level of society participated, including, somewhat ironically, those in charge of building the tombs as well as those in charge of burying the dead. If anyone has been crushed by a giant rock inside a tomb, it was most likely a grave mistake made by them and not a booby trap. King Akhenaten passed away when Tutankhamun was only 9 years old, leaving King Tut as the sole ruler in the late 14th century BCE. What does a child know about Egyptian governing? Well, not a lot. However, he had advisors, so it largely turned out well. He later passed away at the young age of 19, was mummified, and was buried in a sarcophagus. In 1922, British archaeologist Howard Carter found Tut's tomb, sparking decades of research.
I suppose most excavators would confess to a feeling of awe, almost embarrassment, when they break into a tomb closed and sealed by pious hands so many centuries ago.
In 1968, scientists performed an X-ray examination and were perplexed by the discovery that his skull contained bone fragments, suggesting that he may have suffered a head injury.
Just to start with the beginning here, that we can see that the mummy is in a very bad state. The whole body is cut into pieces, hundreds of fractures.
Some speculated that King Tut may have passed away while riding a chariot, or that he had been deposed by a political rival who had grown tired of the young ruler. According to one theory, King Tut's dependable advisor Ai desired his throne and feared losing control when he became a man. According to the widely accepted theory, after King Tut passed away, his widow, Queen Ankhesenamun, penned a letter to the adversary Hittites pleading with them to send a prince to fill the void. She wrote, "My husband died. A son I have not. If thou would give me one son of thine, he would become my husband. Never shall I pick out a servant of mine and make him my husband. I am afraid." One of the Hittite princes was sent, but he was eliminated en route. Even though it might appear that way, science has debunked the theory of foul play. Scientists discovered the damage to King Tut's skull had occurred after he passed away in 2005 after scanning his body. Either Carter handled the mummy improperly, or the Egyptians simply removed Tut's brain by drilling a hole to take it out. Ouch! King Tut had several health issues, including malaria and a femur fracture from a fall, according to later research. The thigh injury resulted in a leg infection that became gangrenous. The infection most likely ended his life, rather than him falling at the hands of an enemy, although scholars are divided on this. They'd like to learn more about Tut, but images from the 2005 scan are being held by Egyptian antiquities officials who aren't eager to share them. There are numerous conspiracy theories about the pyramid builders today. Some claim that the construction of the pyramid was the skillful work of a forgotten civilization with access to advanced forgotten technology, while others speculate that extraterrestrials assisted in its construction because the design of the pyramid was far too sophisticated for the ancient Egyptians to build. The most popular theory of all suggests that the ancient Egyptians kept vast numbers of forced laborers with an estimated 10,000 to 20,000 workers and subjected them to grueling work throughout their lives. But how true is this? You see, in the year 1990, archaeologists discovered several humble burial sites for pyramid workers. Surprisingly, only a short distance from the tombs of their pharaohs. Inside the tomb, archaeologists stumbled upon a variety of items kept inside the tomb to help these workers navigate their way to the afterlife. To those who are unfamiliar with ancient Egyptian tradition, this may not appear to be much, but it was a generous gesture that was unlikely to be extended to mere forced workers. That's not all, though. Archaeologists have also invested years in the excavation of a vast complex that is believed to have served as a temporary residence for thousands of workers. The location is known as Hayt el Ghurub, and it was most likely part of a larger port city on the Nile River where food and supplies for the pyramid workers, as well as building materials for the pyramids, were imported from all over the region. Inside the ruins of Hayt el Ghurub, they found evidence of large barracks where as many as 1,600 or more workers could have slept together. And archaeologists also uncovered extensive remains from the numerous meals they consumed, including abundant bread and huge quantities of meat, like cattle, goat, sheep, and fish. Graffiti by these workers can also be found all over the buildings they built. The Egyptian marks were hidden on blocks inside the pyramids and were never meant to be seen. They kept track of the names of various labor gangs, such as the drunkards of Menkaure and the followers of the powerful White Crown of Khufu. The fact that both gangs were named after their respective pharaohs is fascinating. One symbol represents Egyptian towns and regions. A few appear to be mascots representing a division of workers, with images of animals such as ibises. Together, these hieroglyphics offer archaeologists clues about the workers' backgrounds, daily lives, and employers. Archaeologists have never discovered any evidence of forced labor or foreign labor. So while archaeologists still have much to learn about the people who built the pyramids and how the work was organized and executed, the pyramids in Egypt were not built by enslaved workers. Let us know in the comments about what other myths about ancient Egypt have been debunked. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, thanks for tuning in to Nutty History. We'll see you next time.